That's right, worldwide on the web, right here on Roots 95.4. Now, as promised, I tried to get Tony Williams in here by hook or crook, and he is here, flown in specially to come in here to Roots 95.4. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening to you.
How are you? I must ask you how you, because I know that you're very, very busy doing so many different things right now. So,
well, kind of, but I'm taking it kind of easy. The project that I'm working on at present, as you all know, it's the British Reggae Industry Awards, something which we started back in 1981. We took about 16 years off, and that was because of funds. Also, during that time, I tried applying to the Radio Authority at the time for a license. I think around about 95 or 97, entered into internet radio. Experimenting, and internet radio is worldwide.
But before you go into that, I can remember back in the day there was only one reggae show around the town, yeah?
Well, back in the days, there was Steve Bernard, who was on Radio London at the time. And Steve was, still is, an old friend of mine from before his radio days.
I still see Steve as well, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah, I still see him. I still see Steve very much, yeah.
Yeah, Steve and I and a colleague, another friend called Tony Shakir.
I know Tony Shakir, yeah.
You know Tony Shakir?
Yeah, I know Tony Shakir.
Well, we all used to go to clubs in the West End back in the days, and as you grow up, you kind of lose track of friends and you make new friends. And I remember Steve coming on Radio London, Hanover Square, and playing reggae, and I went and built a small studio in my back room at the house, and every Sunday Steve came on and he started DJing as well. And I didn't know it was Steve, because I only knew Steve as Steve at the time, not as Steve Bernard, you know. In those days, just know people's first name, the last name wasn't that important, you know. And when I finally saw a picture of Steve, I realized it's an old friend of mine. And, well, the rest is history, basically. When Radio London rang me up and asked me if I would present a reggae show, and of course I said yes, and realizing what time slot it was, realizing that I was taking over from Steve, then obviously it was an honor and a job that I treasure up till now, and did it in a respectable manner, the way Steve would have done it, and carried on the tradition, and trying to entertain and you know, make people happy, basically.
But what I want to ask you, how hard was it back in the day to, you know, to actually push and promote reggae music worldwide, like how you and Steve done it?
It was very hard, because you only had an hour and a half to 2 hours. The show started off being an hour, then it went to an hour and a half, then it went to 2 hours. So you had basically Radio London at the time was like a community radio, playing different kind of music from different culture, Indian, sort of Jewish programs, Caribbean affairs. So Sunday was like, you know, the first reggae show on radio with Steve. And having an hour to play all the records, the imports, the stuff made in England, was very difficult, because to play them again, you had to wait a whole week. So you could say it was hard, but easier, because people at that time made a point of duty to log on, well, to tune in those days, to tune in every Sunday at lunchtime, whatever time.
I did that.
Yeah. So it was hard, but it was easier, because everyone listening would only listen to one station, so the whole community was listening. Now you have sort of thousands of radio stations, internet station. You can listen to station worldwide from other countries. So it seems kind of strange that you've got more outlet, but yet the industry is really suffering.
What I want to ask you, but before you go any further, what do you think about the amount of stations that's really out there now? Also, the internet stations doing what they're doing now, and playing what we're playing also. But and as you said, the music industry and how far is pushing reggae music or music on the whole.
Well, let me just try and say this, Gussy, is that there was a time when let's just look at our British artists. Yeah, there were times when Radio London was really kind of kicking on a Sunday afternoon. We had the reggae charts. It was the main outlet. Saying like when I came off of Radio London, it seems like the whole industry, and I'm not saying this to be sort of big-headed or whatever, but it seems like the whole industry kind of stopped, because what we had at the time was a lot of pirate stations. Now they call community stations, right? They all came out and they were just playing what they wanted to play, and that didn't really do the industry any good, because there was no, I mean, there was no direction for anybody. It was just music, 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 you know. Then what happened is there were so many DJs, so there was so many birthday bashes, 20, 40 DJs in one room, and there was no artists. The artists for a while didn't seem to do well, because they weren't getting bookings, they weren't performing. You know, you was hearing adverts and there's a guest, surprise guest. But whereas in the old days you had a string of artists. I remember like when we did the Reggae Awards back in 81, 82, 83, right up, we tried to get the whole industry into the room. Things were cheaper then, so we could afford to bring everybody in, you know. Sorry.
Yeah, but I can understand what you're saying about bringing all the artists, but sometimes when you want to try and get them in, people look at the cost of getting the artists in to come in and perform and stuff like that. But again, on the other side of things is keeping that reggae music going as well at the same point, which is very important, which I don't think a lot of people consider that as well.
Well, I think to keep the music going, you have to build household names, you have to build the artists. They're very important to the DJs, because without their music, we don't have anything to play. We can play old stuff, but we have nothing to play. So the artists in my days were very important. They were the one that you interviewed. They were the one that used to come in. You know, I always say that the more people you talk to on your show is the bigger your show becomes, because it's not all about the DJ. It's about the music and it's about the artist. So yeah, every Christmas, as you know, we used to invite all the artists in, and Radio London didn't have a budget, but I used to put my hands in my pocket, buy the Red Stripe beer, buy the peanut, and buy the cash, and invite everybody in to come in and you know, wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And it worked, and it was building our community, you know, building a reggae foundation here in the country, playing British music, creating a kind of an industry. Because when I looked at it, I said to myself that you had the pressing plant, the printers, the recording studios, the mastering room, the stamping, you know, wherever. The whole industry, everybody was surviving, everybody was living. The record shops needed something to sell each week. So, hey, let's do a reggae top 10, you know. That will give each shop 10 records to sell. And if every shop sold 10 of each record, at least they could pay their rent and pay the staff. So that was like the whole kind of idea. The newspapers, I mean, in the days there was, what did we have? Black Echoes?
Black Echoes was the paper out there.
Okay, so they had a strong foothold in what was said and what was played. I mean, you know, I can remember in those days they did not ever write an article about me at all in all the years that I've been on radio. I think it was just one article. But, you know, the whole idea was that after a while I realized that I had more listeners than they had readers. And because of that, you know, you could push the music to its limit.
But you know something, Tony, do you think that a lot of the stations out there are forgetting about the British artists and playing more international artists?
Well, I've been looking at it recently, Gussy, and I have to be honest with you now. Let's forget about British artists. Let's call them international artists.
Okay.
Let's call them that, because the way the system is now, people in Japan can listen to your show, in America, wherever. Your audience is everyone who has an internet connection. I mean, now you can listen to it on your phone, you know. So our British artists are now international artists. Now, with the new technology that's out there, which we didn't have like 20 years ago, you know, technology like YouTube. Now, with YouTube, that has brought a lot of artists back on the scene because their music's been featured on YouTube. People are listening to it. People are playing. It's important for them. They check and see how many hits they've had on their music. It gives them a little bit of buzz that people are actually playing their stuff. Now, I remember like years ago, I used to do a thing in 9 Elms Lane, the Podium.
Oh God,
and,
the Podium.
You know, the whole idea was to create some kind of legacy, right? Artists used to come on, we used to have a video camera, and I used to say, let's record things, because at the end of the day, you've got something. In the early days, a lot of artists used to say, well, I don't want no video upon me, you know, no shoot, no video, no this, no that. But how many of those artists now would love to have a video of them when they just started their career?
Because those things can go in the archives and they can look back and see
Absolutely.
how things was back in the day.
Absolutely.
To now, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was so surprised that somebody on Facebook sent a clip of, I think it was an award in 1981, where I had hair in my grey suit, you know, and I think, you know, there was like Janet Kay and Carol Thompson and Trevor Walters. You know, it was so refreshing to see what was happening back in the days. So, you know, the whole idea of what I tried to do was I tried to help the industry. I tried to create a buzz. I took reggae to the nicest place in town, the Cafe Royal, all the posh places on Park Lane, Hilton, as far as the Royal Albert Hall, because this is where we need to push reggae. You know, there's a lot of music that's come after reggae and seems to be bigger than reggae.
I was about to say that as well.
Right. But, you know, the funny thing is that, in my opinion, and I don't know if you agree with me or any of your listeners agree, that reggae music right now is probably the biggest music out there.
For me, I think it's big here, but it's also bigger internationally all over the world right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking with Maxi Priest not long ago, and we was just talking about crowd capacity. And, you know, he said, Tony, 20, 30,000 is nothing. He says, when you go to some of these concerts and you're seeing 160,000 people loving the reggae, you know, it makes you think, hang on a second, you know, reggae is just as big. But why isn't it as big as it is abroad in this country? Recently, I had a chat with Derek Morgan, and he was telling me he just did a show in France where he had over 30-odd thousand people. You know, everywhere in the world now, every country has a reggae band. Maybe 1 or 2 reggae bands, but every country has a reggae band, and every country is playing reggae. The only country that reggae seems to be as big as it should be is here.
So you know, so why can't we put on concerts like that? You know, we've got a stadium, we have all the facilities, we have it here.
Yeah, I think you know, we do see it from time to time. Recently, the One Love Festival at the Wembley the other day was, I think, maybe 14,000 people turned out.
And that was a great success.
That was. But that's still on a small scale in comparison to what they're doing in France and in Canada and those places. But why can't we have those success? Do you know, to be quite honest, I think as well, the problem lies with us. I think it lies with the artists, the promoters, and the people who go. Because what I've always noticed is that people who are successful in reggae do it because they love it. There seems to be an aggression attitude with a lot of us, whether we're a sound system guys, whether we're DJs or promoters or an artist. There seems to be some kind of friction, right? That there is not really love. It's, well, I mean, I do this, I mean, I do that. But a lot of these guys, they do it, especially, you know, not being a West Indian person, doing reggae, they do it because they love it. They do it for passion. And they seem to be successful with that. We need to drop all the bad-mindedness and the backstabbing and get the music going and support the artists, support the industry, support each and every one within it. You know, the days of, early days Lovers Rock, where people used to say British music and are nothing, nonce and nothing. It weak, it's soft, it's that. But when you look at what's happening now, the Lovers Rock system seems to be working because it's British music.
And it's coming back now.
Yeah,
It is back now.
It's British music.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I would say artists are doing, who's had a one hit 30 years ago, are still doing their one hits today. So why? It's because it's been embedded in us and we love it. My mum used to listen to that and I've come around and I'm listening to it now. You know, so we do have a system here, we do have an industry, and it can work. All we have to do is to work together and not work against each other.
But you know, you said something about the bad-minded things and the conflict and the friction between people. Do you still think that we can take it to that next level, Tony? Because I think we do need to take it to the next level.
I think we can. I think we're having a new set of generation coming into it now, where artists, sons and daughters are now getting into the industry, and they must have a different attitude to what we had. It was very competitive back in the days, but it's no need to be now because it's very difficult to sell records. So what you have to do now is you have to be a show person, a showman, right? That means when you put a gig on, you must be able to sell out your gigs, to pay your entourage, to pay your bills, and to survive. Because if you're an artist, it's very difficult for an artist to go and do a 9-to-5 job. I mean, you know, you look at, I just use this as an example, the late, great Dennis Emmanuel Brown. Could you see Dennis Brown working in an office or a factory?
Yeah.
You know, he had to sing.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think, you know, this is what we need. We need to have a system going where, like, the younger generation are in it as a business, as a profession, and, you know, the attitude must change, and they must love what they do to make it successful.
But I'm hoping that there are some young people out there listening to what we're saying now, and that can take it on board. So at least it can be passed down, it can be passed on, or they can just take the reign from some of us and just make things a bit easier.
Well, I think also a lot of it is to do with the DJs presenting their shows as well. They must kind of put their shows together, and they must present it together, and they must look at what they're doing. And I think, you know, with all the radio stations that we have in the UK, right, whether it's FM or internet, why can't we have a system that we have a massive chart? Why can't we have a system where we know what's going on? Because I think everybody is doing their own thing, and they're saying, well, I'm not worried about fame, you know, I do my thing, right? And I think that's where the whole thing lies. You know, we need to be working together.
We've always said that, Tony, not just in music, it's in everything. And I can't see why we cannot just come together as a collective, and if someone's doing something good, let's support that and that network and make that bigger.
That's what I've always said. You know, I did the Reggae Awards for so many years, and I hardly got any back in. You know, sponsorship is very hard to get. But, you know, my ambition at that time was to take the Reggae Awards to the Royal Albert Hall, because I couldn't think of a nicer place to take it. And, you know, it's like when we got there and we did the show, and I got a letter from the Albert Hall, and they said, Mr. Williams, it was a great success. You are welcome to return to the Albert Hall anytime you please. You know, and that kind of made me feel good, because, you know, in those days, and we was going into the Albert Hall, and in those days, you know, a man would sit in his box at that time, and he would be smoking whatever, and he was enjoying the music. And we was at the Albert Hall.
But I tell you something, the Albert Hall is a very, very nice place.
It is, and, you know, it was good. And, you know, I think those days could come back, because what we need is not a certain type of people going to a venue. We need everybody going to a venue. We need people from Wales, from Scotland coming down, going and enjoying the music and enjoying what's happening, you know. So, you know, as you say, let's all work together and let's see if we can get the industry going. Not for my sake, because I won't be around, but, you know, let's make names, let's make waves, and let's make a way for the up-and-coming the new generation of artists coming through, and let's hope that they obtain the reggae standards that we're used to.
Because also, you know, I don't want other people to forget about things that happened back in the day, because those days are, you know, are very important, because we need to hold on to those days and try and build on those days as well, Tony. Because some people might say, boy, that was back in the day, but this is now. Yes, that was back in the day, but right now we still need to piece those bits together, and don't forget about what people like yourself have done, and what Steve have done, and other DJs has done in the past to push it to, you know, to this certain level.
Well, I only did a small part, and you know, my motto was always this, is that I got paid by the BBC to do a job, and that's what I did. I didn't play a music, or I didn't play a music because I didn't like the artist, or I didn't like the music, because, as we say, I've got the handle, and I've got the tool, and my job was to play it. If I didn't play Gussie, you wouldn't know whether you like it or not. So that was my job to play. My job, I felt, was to create something that we felt proud of, like the awards, the top 10. As I said, it made the artist feel good, because, you know, on a Sunday when you're running down the top 10, and when it comes to the number one and you hear that number one, you know, in your record, you know, you must have felt good. And, you know, I have to be honest, with the new technology like Facebook and whatever, I've had a lot of people who sent me a little message to say, you know, Mr. Williams, I enjoyed your show back in the days, and you've inspired me to be a disc jockey, you know, and thank you for that. But, you know, I'm glad some good came of it. So, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, I must say that I was one of the ones that used to listen to you guys every Sunday, and music was a passion for me. It wasn't something which I wanted to do as what people just do. I had a passion for music, and for something like that, whatever anyone does, you have to have a passion. And that way you put your whole heart into it, and you make sure that it's done properly.
Well, that's what I did. It took me a week to do a 2-hour show, because I used to go to Radio London and pick up all the records that came in. And I used to listen to, if I had a pile, say a foot high of records, I used to listen to every one of them. And I would put them in categories, you know, like on the living room floor, I'd have probably about 5 or 6 rows of records in different styles. And I would go through them, and I would, yeah, that one. And then I would pick the strongest ones, in my opinion, from that pile. And those are the ones I would play. I would kick off my show, right, I'm going to start off with Lovers this week, or I'm going to start off with DJs. So everything was alternating up and down and creating a buzz. And, you know, the dedications, the what's-ons, and everything, you know. Not saying I got them all right, but I did my best, you know, because it's very nerve-wracking as well.
Well, what do you think about the records to the CDs to the computers now?
Well, I remember when
I wanted
CDs,
to ask you about that, yeah.
Well, when CDs first came in, I have to be honest, I was a little bit frightened, because I was used to the old-fashioned way, right? I used to give away the CDs. We used to have competitions where we used to give away loads and loads of CDs. Number one, I didn't have a CD player at home. And I didn't understand the how to use the machines at the radio station at the time, because everything was all very strange.
High-tech.
It was high-tech. You know, but talking about that high-tech, I'll tell you a story about that, though. But, you know, once I got into it, I found that CDs, for a DJ, it's so much easier than actually playing records, because on the BBC, you can't really jack up a record 3 or 4 times. You know, you could probably get away with it once, yeah, because of copyright laws and everything else. And you can't talk over somebody's vocals because it's copyright. You're infringing on their lyrics, you know. So in the old days, we used to have stopwatch, where we used to have to time the intro. So if you had 6 seconds of intro, I could only talk up to that over the intro for 6 seconds. I could talk a record out, but I can't talk over the vocals. Not like now, you know, you can talk all the way through a record.
See, that's why a lot of DJs don't seem to realize how technical things are. Because, you know, like sometimes when you go on those radio courses, all those things are implemented as well. So,
yeah, you have to. But what happens after a while is, once you get into the system, you understand music, you know. It's either going to be a 4 or 8 bar before the vocal comes in. So you kind of eventually, when you say you got your feet under the table, you know exactly when to stop. Yeah. You know, you learn your trade. So yeah, so I learned that in the end, you know, and you know, but yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. I recorded my shows when I went away on holiday. You didn't know whether I was there or not, which was good. I did the show from the radio car one day as we drove.
Tony, high tech. High tech.
Well, okay, high tech was, okay.
But I'll tell you what, Tony, before you tell me about the high tech, all right?
Yeah.
We're going to take a very, very short commercial break. After the commercial break, we talk about the high tech, all right?
Okay.
And we come back with the information about the Indigo and the awards.
All right.
But I need to have a dumpling, Tony.
Okay, we'll be right back after these breaks.
The greatest national revival dance on Saturday.
As I said, I mean, you've been answering the phones and people be talking to you live and direct and telling you what you should have been getting, yeah? Right,
well,
Tony?
I just want to say hi to Jennifer. Jennifer rang up and said that, I won't go into exactly what she said, but she said, should I get the MBE? But, Jennifer, I thank you very much for that, but that's just life, isn't it, we've just had the Black Knight on the line. He was just saying, what's happened to Aswad, what's happened to the Cimarrons. He reckons they're coming back. So a lot of the groups, are coming back, and it's good that they're coming back because in music, you're never too old. Do you know what I mean? You're never too old. It's, as long as you can do it, you're never too old. So it's good that they're all coming back. And this is what I say about the new technology. It's opened the door for us. This is why I believe we are no longer local artists. We're all international. You're international DJ, Gussy, worldwide. So you're not just a local community DJ in wherever you broadcast from, but you're international DJ to the world. And I think this is how we have to look at the music, that every artist in this country is international.
Okay, Tony, before we took the break, I wanted to talk to you about you mentioned the high-tech, because when I said high-tech, you had a big smile on your face. You had a big smile, Tony, when I said high-tech.
Okay, right, okay. Yeah. Okay, I was always pushing for more time for reggae, and I honestly and truthfully thought that they would have given me 2 hours every day, right, on the BBC. So what happened is they gave me a Friday night, and I think it was 8 till 10 or 10 till midnight or something, and that was great. And then they changed it. And they gave it to a Soul Night Out with Dave Pearce and Steve Walsh and that lot.
I remember Dave Pearce and Steve Walsh.
Okay, and they put me at 8 o'clock.
Oh.
And I remember saying to myself, who's going to listen to a radio at 8 o'clock on a Friday evening when people are coming from work, they're going shopping, they won't have time to listen. So I had this idea, right? And this is how it worked. I went into the studio and we decided to do some jingles, and it was called High Tech. Right? They were the high tech jingles, all right? And we did this thing. And what we used to do, right, in the BBC, there is no effects. There's no echo chamber, there's no reverb. Everything is straight, flat, straight voice. You haven't got a treble or a bass to boost your mic. So, you had to have a good, strong voice. And we went in the studio and made these high-tech jingles. And what we used to do is we actually used to speed the record up on a Friday night. We used to speed them up a bit, and we used to push them through 2 tape machines. So we used to record them and play them back and send it out live at the same time, so there was that echo delay in it. And that's how we created the high-tech Friday nights. And everything was the Supreme Don in London, that kind of stuff, which kind of made it work on a Friday night. So that's how the high tech came about.
Well, I'll tell you, I go high tech. Right, Tony. Right, it's the time exactly. It's 9 minutes after the hour to 9. Now, Tony, now we're going to talk to you now about the British Reggae Awards happening on the 21st of February at the O2 Indigo. Now, tell me a bit about this now.
Well, as you know, I'd stopped doing the awards for a while, and some years ago, I had a few artists came up to me and said, Tony, can you start doing the awards again? Because of all the awards that's been going on, yours seems to be the only one that had kind of credibility or respect to it, which I gave thanks for that. And I was thinking, how the devil can I do it? Not looking at the new technology that we have, anyhow, eventually I've decided to have a go, so I'd asked Tracy to have a look at it and see what she can do with it, and we got it going, and we've had a few ups and downs in it because it's very difficult with everything that's happening reggae-wise right now to get sponsors and everything. So we had it scheduled for last year, which we had to cancel the date.
That's right, because Tracy actually came in on my show, and we actually spoke about the whole thing. And then after a few weeks or so, then I found out that,
Well, there was so much reggae happening at the Indigo with the 50th anniversary for Jamaica. And there was the Taurus Riley and the Barry Hammond either side of the date that we'd chosen. And, of course, there was the Giants of Lovers Rock, you know. So there was so much reggae that we felt it wouldn't do the awards any justice by putting it on. So we'd moved the date, and I used to say, right, before I just go to that, I used to say, you know, they have the British Reggae Awards, the BPI British Reggae Awards on TV, but they hardly ever seems to mention anything about reggae artists. So I felt like, okay, the Brits Awards, I believe, is happening a couple of days before ours. And I felt like, yeah, let's have our awards immediately after theirs. So it kind of keeps the Brits Award in flavour and see if it will create some kind of interest. But, you know, whilst Tracy was doing it, the interest that we had with people, and we'd put the website up and people was voting. Now, I just want to say that all the votes and everything that was set for last year is what we're going to be honouring this year.
So all the votes from last year
is the same.
Stay the same.
Exactly. The only thing that's changed is the date.
Right. So the actual voting has actually stopped now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
Right,
it stopped from when we said it was.
Right. Okay.
And you know, the winner is as it was. So nothing's changed. The only thing has changed.
Can I stop you there, Tony? Because a lot of people was saying that because it was cancelled, does those votes still stay? And there was one thing, you know, if people were still voting, the votes were still coming in afterwards and stuff like that. So no, that's what we need to clear up here.
Yeah, there was no votes. The main awards was voted on, and all the top three was selected. Yeah, and the winner was selected. So that is still stands.
And that's in all categories. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
so that's the same. The only thing that had changed is that we've put up a new website. Yeah, and on that website we had a vote in there for who unsigned artists who would perform at the Brits Awards. That was for the unsigned artists, not for the main thing. And remember, the categories that were voted on they're not categories for what they have done for the year, but it's the return of the awards. Whereas there's new people in the industry, there's veterans in the industry, and you know there's people that kept going. When I say people that kept going, kept recording and kept producing records, even though the industry, it seems to have died down, yeah, in the way of sales. As you notice, there's hardly any record shops now. Everything is online. So we were paying respect to those people for the new ones that's coming in, giving them an opportunity to have a feel of the industry.
And the ones, and I think, well, there's a few shops that still open, like Pagans is still open there now.
Yeah.
Still doing some great stuff
as
well.
There's Hawkeye as well.
Hawkeye.
You know, there's Everybody Music in Tottenham, and there's a few Blacker Dread, and there's Supertone. So there is still a few shops, but, you know, its sales are not like they used to be. It's all down to downloads and you know. But again, that is another story. You know, that's another story. So, yeah, all the votes that were done last year are still the same. All the people that were advertised, if you remember, you saw the advert at the back of the Taurus Riley and the Barry Hammond show. All those PAs are the same. Nothing has changed. I think there might be an exception that yesterday I had a note from Christopher Ellis's manager to say that he won't be able to make it because of recording commitments. Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, that's the only change that's happened.
Well, so all the artists that you've got up on the leaflet there are all going to be coming down there.
Yeah,
great. That's great stuff.
They were all. I mean, Michael Gordon. We have Michael Gordon, Bucky Ranks, Andrew Slowly, Calvin Salmon, Skiboo, Quest, and Cool J is the guy, he's out of America, that actually won the unsigned artist. Now he's going to try and make his way to London to be at the awards. We have Lady Lex, we have Lavella Ellis, we have Adele Harley, Miss Kasia, we have Holly Cook, Firestone, and we have Claire Angel. I mean, Firestone is probably the newest artist to the industry. Yeah. Now, you know, it just showing you that there's been people who's been in the business a long time, and there's people who's just come into the business. It's not on the merit as what they did last year. Like when we used to have the voting before, we used to put it in the newspaper, and you used to vote on your favorite. Now it's all done online. So, you know, next year, the next award will be what did so-and-so do, what did so-and-so do. So it's a completely different setup for next year, but this is the return of the British reggae industry. Yeah, because a lot of people wanted to find out about how it was run and the artists that's coming on, who's performing, how the votes went as well. And I think you've more or less cleared that up, yeah. which is pretty good. Well, we have artists such as Little Roy, who's like the guy responsible for Prophecy, out of Jamaica. We have a group all the way from Scotland, the White Reggae Band. You mentioned Prophecy. Yeah. That's my tune, you know. There you go. Yeah. A band from Glasgow, the I Foundation, you know, doing great up there. We have Donna Marie, King Sounds, Bunny Lai Lai, Tipper Irie, Top Cat, Nereus Joseph, AJ Franklin, Momo Watt, Chosen Few, Winston Reedy and Dennis Al Capone. We have Frederica Tibbs and a band all the way from, I think it's Brighton, Gold Masters All Star, a massive band. And of course Jimmy London. Now, I can't remember ever seeing Jimmy London live, you know, at all. And Jimmy kind of disappeared for a while, and then all of a sudden he surfaced again. Yeah, doing some PAs around the area. Yeah. You know, which is when you go on YouTube and you see all the Jimmy London tracks, you know, you think, oh my God, where's this guy disappeared to? So it's good that he's coming back out. So if you've never seen him, at least it's an opportunity to see him. And again, talking of opportunity, when they had the 50th anniversary at the Indigo for Jamaica, there were so many artists I hadn't seen in years. Oh, I think there was about 2 or 3 bands that I've never ever seen, and it was great to see them. So, you know, I urge everyone to get a ticket and come out and support it. It's not a money-making venture for me at all. It's for the industry, and you know, we need people like yourself, Gus, to be involved with what we're doing, because you're passionate about your music. We need you to be involved with not just this year, but next year and the year after as well. You know, to show that it's not just all about Tony Williams, I do this, and Tony Williams, I do that, because at the end of the day, I want to walk away from it, because, you know, I'm getting too old now. You know, we have Fat Man Hi-Fi, we have Lloydie Coxon there, we have MCs, you know, just a handful here, Daddy Ernie, Robo Ranks, Mandingo, Lady Metha, Bobo, and I can never say the rest of his name. And El Numero. Yeah, I know. It's a mouthful. That one's a mouthful. Isn't it? And we have Audrey Scott, you know, who's been around a while. You know, I saw Audrey a few days ago as well. You know. Yeah. So you know, we're trying to get everybody on there. Recently, I was talking with Leon from the Blackstones, and you know, he just said, Mr. Williams, we're available. You know, so. And then recently I see something on Facebook, you know, what about Black Slate, 35 years in the business. You know, yes, indeed. Let's hope that they be amongst our bands for next year. Unfortunately, it'd be nice to put everybody on stage, but time does not allow it. So, you know, let's look forward to next year and see if we can make it bigger than, you know, ever. Well, I want to ask you also, the ticket price, how much is it to get inside for the people outside? Tickets a price at 20, 30 and 50. And I think the VIP tickets like £100 where you get a table, champagne, whatever. But yeah, tickets are available from, let me see now. Is it www.ticketmaster.co.uk, that one there? Yeah, / British Reggae Industry. Yeah. So what? So they start from 20, 30, 50.
50 and 100.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And tickets are available from Body Music in Tottenham, James Shukier in Ilford, Essex, also Supertone, Acre Lane, Brixton, Black Dread, Cold Harbour Lane, Brixton, Hawkeye Records, Craven Park Road, TP Cars, Balham Station Road, Peckins, Askew Road, Music Specialist, Tooting Broadway Market, and of course ticketmasters.co.uk/British Reggae Industry.
Okay, well, Tony, I think that, the lineup and how it all looks, it just sounds fantastic. As I said, to bring everybody like that under one roof.
It's difficult, but, to be perfectly honest, if everybody was to work together under one umbrella, it wouldn't be that difficult, seriously, because we'll all be united. We're in unity, and the show must go on.
And as you said, let's make it a year-to-year thing, so at least every single year we can look forward to something like this.
Well, we did it for 18 years.
Well,
I think we did it, I think it was 18 years. I mean, the very first one was, I believe, at the Cafe Royal in where was Cafe Royal again? Anyway, Cafe Royal is somewhere out there.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but, we went to Cafe Royal, we went to all the big hotels, we went to Park Lane, we've been all over the place. We've been when they used to have the Hammersmith Palais. We did one there. We went to, I think we did a few stuff. And not only that, Gussie, what we used to do as well, we used to present the 24 Karat Gold Night, where an artist who had reached #1 in the reggae charts, they would get a gold disc for reaching #1, which is not a disc for the year, because you could get a #1 this year, but it doesn't mean you will win the vote for being the best artist or the best single or the best solo, whatever, for the year. But once you got to #1, you would get a gold disc. So every so often, we used to have a presentation in places like, I think it was Dougie's in Clapton Pond.
I remember Dougie's.
Yeah,
Oh, you bring back some names here, Tony, boy.
We used to have these gold discs. So a lot of artists receive gold discs for having a #1. And not only that as well, but we try to recognize them. Let me just say this. A lot of people are saying, what about this, what about that? Yes, agree with them, because the whole industry's changed. So the categories are more than before, because there's people that's doing stuff in the business that we need to recognize. There's TV programs. There's, on Sky and all these things that we need to look at that's doing something for the industry. There's journalists, there's online newspaper. So we need to look at all these areas. So yes, there is a lot of scope and a lot more awards, but we need the help from people.
And as you said, the help that we need really is the sponsors, really.
Well, yeah, it's getting sponsors to sponsor it. It seems like it's easier to get to sponsor a great big reggae festival outside of England than it is here. I don't know why, but
that's strange. I can't really get my head around that one. But that's life. That's how that's how things are.
But if every station said, okay, let's talk about it, let's get it together, then maybe things will change. And it's all down to individuals to do this.
But Tony, can you just recap on the outlets for the Reggae Awards?
Sure. Tickets are available from. let me put on my radio voice.
Oh, I tell you what, Tony. There's one more question. I just had a text there. Does the competitors have to pay?
The artist who is performing, or
anyone that's been nominated or anything like
that? No. They will be receiving an email from us, and there'll be tickets. There's 2 tickets,
right?
And there'll be tickets there for them.
Right. So anyone that's been nominated,
yeah,
does not have to pay to go inside.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So all they have to do is to go to www.BritishReggaeIndustryAwards.com. BritishReggaeIndustryAwards.com.
Okay.
The website's there. It's a new website. Not only that as well, but they can upload their music. They can upload their biography on that new website as well. And if they go to my Facebook page, which is Tony Williams, you'll see me in my hat and microphone, and so you know it's me, and the picture of me at the BBC.
I dick, you know.
But yeah, it's just link me, and the phone number is on the flyers. And look out for the flyers. They'll be in your local shops as from tomorrow onwards. And, we'll be giving them away. But tickets are available from Body Music in Tottenham.
I was just about to say if that caller could just call back in about 5-10 minutes, but they've just done that. So
okay, Body Music in Tottenham, James Shoe Care in High Street, which is over there in Barkingside, High Street, Barkingside, Ilford. Supertone Records, Acre Lane, Brixton. Blacker Dread Records, Cole Harbour Lane. Hawkeye Records, Craven Park Road. TP Cars, which is at Balham Station. Peckins Records, Askew Road. Music Specialist, Tooting Beck Market. And ticketmaster.co.uk/BritishReggaeIndustry.com.
Well, there you go. Those are the details if you want to get involved, get your tickets to go down to the British Reggae Awards on the 21st of February at the O2 Indigo. And that is in Greenwich, London, South East 10 ODX for the Satnav people.
That's right. That's good, isn't it? It takes you right there, isn't it?
Yeah, right outside the front door, isn't it?
I remember I got lost once, and great stuff. Wicked.
But sometimes they can take you around the long way. But at least it gets you there.
Yeah, true. Yeah. True.
But Tony, I must say, big thanks and enough respect for coming in, because, a lot of people are looking forward to this interview and actually hearing the history of you as well.
Well, there is more, but it would take you a long time. You'd have to at least dedicate 2-3 hours, because
I know
there is so many stories that over the years that I've met. And it's funny, I'll give you one story. Somebody recently put up a picture of myself, Chosen Few, Bunny Lee, and Peter Tosh on Facebook. And you know what? I cannot remember where this picture was taken, because I had an appointment to go and see Peter Tosh in Jamaica. I went to the radio station, and I was talking with Free Eye, and I said I need to see Peter before I leave. And I was leaving. Say I was like I'm at the studio with you now. I was leaving tomorrow, back for London. So Free Eye rang up Peter and says, "Yo, Tony Williams want to come up there, come see you right now, So he said, "Tell him to come tomorrow." So I said, I can't make it. I have to leave. I have to go back to London tomorrow. And anyway, Free Eye went up the next day to see Peter Tosh, and that was the day he got shot.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
But seeing that picture there with myself and Peter and Bunny Lee, it just kind of brought back memories. And for the love of me, I'm rocking my brains. Where was that picture taken?
Well, perhaps you can go back onto that site and then just send a message, and probably they might have an idea.
Well, I hope so. But it's great to see the old pictures. Yeah, it's great.
Because I also saw sort of a few pictures that you actually put up yourself on your page of you back in the day doing the radio stuff and stuff.
Oh gosh, so, yeah. So I got loads. I went into my music room and I found so many pictures and so many people that I met. I remember sort of in Sunsplash, sitting out on the grass interviewing Freddie McGregor when he was a young man. It's so good.
But also, what I want to ask you, what time does the actual show start, Tony?
Doors open about 5:45, and we're going to get the show moving as quickly as possible.
Right, so 5:45, so hopefully we're looking to start roughly...
Around about 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Because time is very important, so artists doing live sets and artists doing PAs, plus all our little bits and pieces in between and the presentation of the awards and everything.
Right, Tony, it has been a pleasure for me to actually to interview you and hear you.
Thank you.
Because back in the day, it was on the radio. I've seen you about, but to actually have you here at Roots FM and listen to you about your history, about yourself, and what you've gone through to now.
Oh man, I tell you, like I said, it's a long story. I've been threatened with my life. Wait, I'm playing my record. Oh, come, you have to run and hide. It was good. The thing was like, people would say, so I'm playing my record, Mr. Williams, and he said, did you send it to me? And they said, no. So, okay then, so am I supposed to play it? I must go out and shop for it. Or they would say, come sit and read my what's on. And I said, did you send it to me? No.
Well,
so I have to go out and look for it, So it was like they depended on me, and I did my best.
Well, Tony, thank you very, very much for coming to Roost 95.4.
Thank you so much. Shake your hand.
Well, shake your
hand. If they could only see you here,
bless up all the time.
Tony,
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Mystery, hyper-esque, latest edition, Nasty Boys, Fifth Avenue, special time.
You know, no one ain't funny for me, you know. They want Tony. So, right, so I'm gonna say whole tag is actually to Shirley in.
Yeah, she was on talking about Burning Spear. Why,
so
why
behind
no
the
one's
Shirley.
paying the man tribute.
Yeah.
She wants to hear all about him before he passes away. You know.
Okay.
I'm sure somewhere along the line somebody's going to be doing that. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the staff, all the people, all the staff behind the British Reggae Industry Awards that's helping it and making it work. I just want to thank them all. Let me see now. I want to thank Sean for the website. I want to thank Beverly for pushing. I want to thank Miss P for pushing. I want to thank Tracy, Katharina. I just want to thank everybody that's involved with it and just let them know that, 100% thank you. And, let's just hope that the whole thing goes smoothly on the 21st.
Well, Tony, I think it will, because the support and the word out on the street, it's good. So I think it's going to be a great turnout and a fabulous showcase.
I like what you just said. It's going to be a great turnout.
Well, there you go.
I hope so.
But thank you once again, Tony.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And have a safe journey.
Thank you.